So I'm fixing the sound. It's still not, there we go. That should be the correct one. See, that is, I even said when I started this, check in and let me know where you're hearing, because I haven't used this setup in a while. Each one of the little live show setups is different, so if you don't remember this show, STL Sunday was where I came on and did some 3D modeling, usually focused around 3D printing. It just never really took off as far as popularity, so it wasn't one that I ended up continuing doing. But I am working on a project right now for Scale Nationals, and it's my Class 1 truck specifically, and it's got a lot of 3D modeling that I've been doing for it. And I've basically been designing most of the car in 3D so that then I can get it fabricated, and trying to use as many tricks as I can to get this thing done right. Now, this week, like I said, I'm not bringing the show back normally, but I figured I would show you exactly what's going on in this one, so it won't be necessarily entry level. It's just things that I've got to get done. So that is why I fired this thing up. Does that make sense? Hopefully some of you enjoy it. Maybe it won't be helpful. Maybe it will. We'll just dive in. We'll switch over to the Fusion screen, and hopefully you can still hear me. Oh, now I've got, that's fun. Turn that guy off. I don't need two of me. So this, now for Nationals, I have many files of of this truck. Each file has different, versions or things that I'm working on. This one specifically, if you can see the title up there, it says structure bolted. And that's because in this file, what I'm designing is the parts that go underneath of the body to get it all attached to the chassis. So I'm going to turn off a handful of these. I've got each of the bodies named here along the tree in the side. There's a piece that is missing. There's that. I also have a fender. Flares. I could turn all the flares off. But this will give you an idea. So the plan for this thing is that I'll have these panels here, and those will basically be, can I isolate just those? Let's see if it'll let me. No, it's gonna, we'll turn on the one, and I need the floor, passenger floor. There we go. So this is basically going to be the parts of the structure that will bolt to the chassis and allow me to fasten the body panels to it. Now, I need to attach these things to each other, so that's kind of what I've been working on. I'm coming up with some parts that will allow me to attach them through and to each other. There's this one that will go underneath of the floor and will attach to the slider. So my slider is this panel. Those holes that are in there are little nutserts, and you are not going to be able to see what I'm showing you here in my hand, but I made a test one just in a scrap piece of aluminum. Then I modeled that up so that I could see how the clearance would be for those. And they basically sit inside, and I didn't even have to adjust. I didn't have to adjust my tolerances at all. These are basically a 0.5 millimeter away from the height that I needed. So it'll kind of lock into this, but everything will screw down into it, and it'll all just get nice and compressed. Now, like I said, I don't have a huge plan today of showing, steps or things to do. Just trying to show you what I've got going on. So I had initially, in a different design, I'm going to switch back to the other camera for just a second. But in my first shot at this thing, I was going to have the parts use a captured nut system. You can kind of see like that. So the nut goes into a slot, And when you screw through, it kind of pulls everything together. There's a lot of chassis that have been designed this way, and it works okay, but ideally it works with thicker material. This is only 1.5 millimeter, or a 16th of an inch basically. So it's not right for it. It's not the right pick. So that's why I changed to these 3D printed, blocks that are going to help me attach things together, and also will help me keep the body panels all attached to each other, so that there's not big body gaps and things like that. There's a lot of work in this thing still to do, but now I do have, let's isolate, turn everything else back on. So now I do have the VS410 chassis in here, the whole deal with shocks. That's not something that is available. I had it because obviously I have access to that from where I work. So that's a leg up, I will agree. I've got everything pretty tightly designed to that. You can see this piece here. That's actually how it's interfering. That's because that's the mold for my inner transmission tunnel. It was designed to be the inner tolerances of everything. You can see how it's laying right on the floor and right against the firewall. You can't see anything because you're not showing on the screen. Here, I apologize. See, this is why I don't do these very often. You can see, this is that transmission tunnel thing. You can see how it's like interfering with parts of the design, like this post, things like that. And that was what I was saying, because, and my lag is super, it's way higher on this stream than it is on others. Obviously, like I was saying, I don't, this was why STL Sunday was so much harder than every other stream I ever did. And because I did it at 10 in the morning, and that I am not a morning person. This is barely when I get to work. So regardless, today what I'm going to do is work on a couple more of these 3D printed type parts that are going to, I still need to activate the Windows license, so shut it, Matt. So right now I've got kind of working through the thought process of how this is going to go together. The passenger floor, or the floor, is going to be attached to the slider with the nutserts. While these stick out, I'll have another like Delrin type slider plate that goes over that to keep everything from being seen or giving me catch points. So that will attach to there. This piece will help the side panel and firewall attach to that. What I need to do is attach this inner fender to the cowl, as well as the inner hood plate, which is that. And once I get that all attached, it should make this thing a pretty solid system, I think. So when I do that, oops, I need the firewall. I need the other one off. Turn that one off, firewall on. So to do this, I'm going to do a new sketch, throw it on that firewall specifically, and I'm going to project a couple of lines. P for project, grab that inner line of that, and I'm also going to turn on that hood plate, turn off that firewall, rotate around and grab that, and then hit OK and turn those things back. So that just gives me a couple of those things, and now I can isolate that, just turn everything else off. So you just go over to the body on the side, right click and go down to isolate or unisolate. That way it'll just clean everything up for you. Now the only thing it does is turns off that sketch, but we can fix that. There's a lot of sketches in this model. But I'm going to try and attach this with, oh, I got 3D sketch on. I'm just going to throw a couple holes in the firewall for what'll go along the side, and then I'll probably throw a couple more across the top. Now I'm only going to go to the center line because I'll probably mirror most all of this work. What made you choose nutserts? Because the sliders are metal, so just gives me a nice solid base. That way I don't have to try and weld a blind nut or anything like that. So that was why, really. Let's see. Thank you, user one. Much appreciated. Number one fan. We're going to throw an equal constraint on these. Do that. Hit D for dimension. Throw a, let's see. We're going to do a 2.6 millimeter on this because this will likely be a, this will be the 3D printed part that we're going to work on next. I'm going to do an offset line, and I'm going to do like, five's too much. I'm going to go 4. We're going to do 4 down as well. I'm going to turn both of those to construction lines. They're just guidelines for me. So select them and hit X, and then we're going to make sure that those circles are on those guidelines. So, simple stuff there. Now I haven't dimensioned really where those are going to go. It's all kind of just arbitrary. So I like them to be whole numbers, but again, it's not. I want them to be spread apart enough to help even the load out, make sure that everything's nice and supported, but in a way that, you know, is just enough. 22, yeah. I like that. I don't want anything to be too close together. And then, like we said over here, I want it to be on the center line because I'm just going to mirror it. That got fully defined already because it's a horizontal line direct from the origin. So we got that. Now we are going to do another offset line. This is going to be part of the actual thing. We're on construction still. I'm only going to go, I'm not going to, let's go, I think 5 is likely enough. So I will say, you'll see that my computer kind of struggles with some of this. This computer is not a weak computer, but there's so much going on in this model that it can be a little wild. Now you can see that those lines intersect that, but that's just because I'm going to do an offset on those. So we got that going on. I'm also going to just project, hit P for project, select that whole face. That'll give me, you know, the outline of everything. I don't need it, but you'll see what I mean. So I've got all of that line work done. One thing I am going to do is I'm going to throw a, made that a construction line. I'm actually going to make it a real line. And I finished it up to the top, but you'll see. Now we're going to hit E for extrude, and then I'm going to select the profiles that I want. Oh, something's weird. Try that again. What is it doing there that it... Somewhere in this area where it was acting funny. Just going super slow since I have so many profile regions. I don't know why it's doing that. Down here, we could grab, we're going to grab it at least. Why not? Why not? Okay, so we got that. Now I'm going to pull this up, let's say 4 millimeters, but we're going to do new body. And hit OK. So, the simple but ugly looking part, I am going to mirror this. So we're going to select bodies. Okay. And I did mirror the trans tunnel profile, so that gave me something that still looks reasonable. Brian Sherwood, thank you, sir. I missed that one. Are you sure this is not the new body for the next Vanquish quit? Yeah, no, I don't think so. This is, for one, I don't think this is a fantastic looking body in that way. This is an exercise in being ridiculous for the sake of being ridiculous. So we've got a couple. I don't know if it'll let me throw two on there, and no. So I'm gonna just kind of cheat. I did a 2 millimeter fillet there. I'll do it again now, and then I can clean it up. So we'll stretch this thing down 3. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so now I can kind of clean up the part a little bit, add some fillets in the corner. I'll need to do the same thing in that upper corner there, but this is just to make it all smooth out a little bit. I don't know what it'll do down here. Let's see. That'll be right. Is this for Scale Nats 2023? I mean, with the amount of time I have left, you would think that that would be the case. But no. I think that I can accomplish this in time. We're going to turn all those panels on here in a second, and I'll show you what I'm thinking. And now this is only for the holes that go on the firewall. We still have to do the holes to attach down to it to clean it up a little bit more. I don't like sharp points on 3D printed stuff like that. Just trying to make it a little bit smoother so the printer moves smoothly. Just smooth motions, the whole thing. Let's see. What's with the TRX4 Super Heavy version project? It's just one of those projects that I work on when I'm feeling like doing something ridiculous. So it'll keep going. There's more to come on that. So let's scroll up. Like I said, there's a lot of sketch, and this is only the file for thinking, unisolate. There we go. So that brace there. Ah, here's something. So the chassis rails in the front of the VS410 have a taper in. You can start to see a little bit of a interference there. So we'll have to make a cut to make sure that that's going to be compensated for, which is easy to do and not a big concern. So let's just do that now. I'm just going to make a sketch on top. I'm going to hit project, and I'm going to select that inner line and the full face. Then I'm going to select E for extrude. Doesn't. There we go. And we're just going to take and basically drag that arrow all the way down. And you can see that's running into all kinds of things. But on the right side here, we're going to hit objects to cut, and we're only going to hit that new body. So now there's no interference there. Now I had overridden and turned on one of those sketches because I had isolated everything, and I don't know why that one's on. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to read just a few comments here for the moment, for a moment at least. Let's see. Should we have cleaned up corners before we mirrored? Probably. Just flying through randomly without. Now, one thing you'll notice is like I only have a very small amount of history at the bottom of the screen here. When these models start getting wild, complex and stuff, I'll turn off design history. So like I'll come in here and I'll just hit do not capture. Oh wait, see in the bottom corner, it says do not capture design history. I'll turn that off and it'll clear all my history out. And then I'll turn it back on just to get things kind of like started again. It's while that takes away your ability to keep going back and forth, it makes the model run a little bit smoother and you don't end up with errors and things like that. You just have to do things manually a lot. So that's kind of part of it. It's not, this isn't typical type how I would just do a simple part or a simple something. Maybe just in the spirit of STL Sunday, we'll finish up this one part, and then I'll just do a random suggested item, because why not? Aardvark Spleen, bring back STL Sundays. Is there a place we could download the VS410 chassis and CAD? No, there's not. That is not a shareable file. That's internal use only, and luckily for me, unluckily for all of you, I'm the only. That won't be shared. So now I'm drawing a sketch on this side. Let's go. And we're just going to make the bosses so that we can, attach this part to the other. 11-pound class 1. Now, there's a lot of extra stuff on here. Definitely not needed for competition and stuff like that. But in the end, the fact that it's all going to be, all this stuff will be carbon fiber or other lightweight materials. So I think that especially like the body panels and things like that stuff should be pretty light. And the cage is going to be titanium. I don't think in the end that this car will actually be heavier than expected. Now, I'm not saying that it won't be a 7.5-pound truck. Right now, of course, you can only see like a pixelated version of it. But right now, with 3D printed body panels, no cage, no electronics and things like that, it's about 5 pounds. But that's just because VS410 chassis, these F10 axles are pretty beefy. I've got weight inside of the KMC Enduros that I've got mounted on here. I've got steel sliders on it right now. But for my class 1, I'm like just not super concerned. Matt and I had said like we're going to be competitive, and honestly, I think that I meant class 2 or 3. Class 1, I'm still building to the rules, but I really just want to have a lot of fun. So, let's put that in there. Yep. We're going to finish up putting some of these bosses on here. Oh, there's a spammer. Someone grab that. And let's put that at 3. Define the distance at, just trying to take a look around, say 22 is fine. Okay, now Maybe this rig takes Concourse Best of Show. Oof. I think that the biggest problem will be that this won't be. It'll be a best of show if you maybe care about an over complication of something that shouldn't have been. But I don't think that you'd have to be a real nerd and like some of us to appreciate it beyond that. Okay. Connecting some dots here to create these bosses. Is there a way? Let's see. Is there a way to get the print file for the transmission tunnel? I mean, yeah, but I don't know that it will. Like this thing with, I don't know that my tunnel will do you any good. But I have no attachment to it. It's not going to do me any good. Do you chamfer holes for the screws and lock nuts? We do it when 3D printing 3D printers. I do. Like, let me hide that floor. So you can see here, this is a part that's like ready for 3D printing. And you can see that I've got the holes chamfered everywhere. I like putting chamfers on parts anyway. I just think they clean up so much better. But yeah, I do throw chamfers on. 0.5 millimeter around these holes is usually what I use. 1 millimeter on the inside. So, all right. Let's finish this guy up. So now I did this sketch right against this inner panel. So if I try to, make this, you will see that we also have an interference here, but the screws will come from the outside. So we're going to trim some things up, but that's not going to be a huge deal. I'm going to go maybe 4 millimeters, and it's so when I go to join instead of that, it's going to want to create this side panel and this as one big part. So I'm going to just turn off that brace, and then it won't do that. But actually, I'm not going to do it that way anyway. I'm going to do new body because I'm going to mirror these bodies to the other side. So mirror, we're going to select those two, and then we're going to mirror it off of the center line. So it puts those two bosses to the other side. Which bearing retainers work on the VFD twin? The standard 30 tooth, I think. The regular ones that come in the regular VFD. Did you take into account the bulge of the riv nut on the back side? I did, Ben. Did I? Let's see. I'm a slider hidden. So you can see this step in here. There's an extra step, and that's because that is about a 0.5 millimeter larger than the diameter of the bulged part of the riv nut. So that is how I took into account that. But yeah. Craig Banks, will these trucks be carry-on when you fly? Yes, I carry on. When I travel for an event like this, I absolutely carry on the trucks, and I usually check my radio, my clothes, of course, but I always carry on the trucks because the truck is if I don't have the truck, the whole trip is worthless. So I carry on my trucks. If the radio got lost, I can get a new radio. Like I can go buy a radio somewhere. Worst case scenario, rather than completely wasting a trip, I'll go buy a new radio, I'll go buy new clothes, whatever. Trucks are irreplaceable for that time period, right? So yes, I carry on my lipos and my trucks. Like number one, number one concern. All right. So now that we've got all of those bosses there. We can combine all of those bodies. Hit OK. So, like I said, we do have a an interference problem here. I'll probably just end up blowing that through hole through a ways. You know, like I could carry this up more, or I could move that down more, but I don't know that I have that much concern with that. I'll probably just, like I said, knock that hole all the way through, and then I'll just add a bunch of fillets and things like that to get things reinforced a little bit more. Now I do need to put the corresponding holes into the panels so that everything can get tight. Aren't your screw tips very straight and maybe make more curve joining the main part? Fixing. Ooh, I don't understand what you're saying. What do you transport your rigs in? I usually transport them in like my normal type carry-on bags. They usually fit, you know, my max size carry-ons. So that's usually the route that I go. And since I'm carrying them, I'm usually not, you know, I know how they're going to be handled. So I'm usually pretty careful. So I'm just looking at how that's all going to flow, and I think that that will work good enough. So we'll get both sides. Before we get too far, let's go ahead and get that hole thrown through. So I created a sketch on that back side. I'm just going to hit project, grab that surface, hit E to extrude through, cut through. So maybe a hair weaker than I would really like. If it becomes an issue in the future, I'll do something about it. Do you wear Crocs at the TSA checkpoint? No. I will not travel in Crocs. Oh, damn it. I didn't notice that one did it too. Let's see. I'm hitting undo a little bit. I mean, really. Carry that one up a little bit more. I'm going to hit P for project. So I can see where that one is now. I'm just missing it. I moved it up 2 millimeters. That top one wasn't too bad. So this would be an instance where going back in my design history and moving things around. Actually, I had design history on. I forgot. I could have gone back and done that, but I have been using design history off on these just because of how complex some of these have got, but I think that I'll be okay with this. I'm just looking. I want to make sure that this structure is supported enough. Like I could go down further maybe. But it gets pretty complicated down there too. So I think I'm gonna roll with this for now. I'm okay with that. That top one wasn't so bad. So it'll be okay. Fairly straightforward beyond that. I'll probably work on getting that. I do need to do the top part as well because we're gonna have more intersecting holes there. Now I could, bring them further out, make larger bracing. I probably shouldn't add too many fillets until I get all of that done also. Will there be a place at your at Nats, your trucks and mats be available to see close? Yeah, I mean, we'll have some friends of ours had said that they'll have tables and stuff for us, so I'm sure that we'll be hanging out and just have our trucks sitting around. Most of the time at, these events is spent sitting around and talking anyway, so. So, anyway. Is there anything else you guys want to see on this truck? Otherwise, we'll come up with a part and we'll design something up. For old time's sake. Party at the lake house. Exactly, Ben. I am stoked. I'm going to turn all this stuff back on. Would just one hole be enough? I don't know. It's like the structure that I'm going to have everything bolt to. Like I want everything to be sturdy. I don't know. I have a hard time saying that one would be enough. What is... Oh, I've got some overlapping parts there that were done, but I still have a lot of work to do on this thing. Today, I think is going to spend... make some front tires. They're just off currently, but I do just have donuts rolling around in this thing. When I designed this initially, I'll go to one of the other ones. Is this the latest version? I'll go to my assembly file. I'll show you that. Over design everything. Exactly. So, like I said, you can see all these files here on the side. These are basically all for this truck. And in each of those files, I design a portion of something, and then I bring them in to this. Now, there is a number of files, a lot of things missing because as I redesign things or rebuild, I take out the old, and then the final parts will get brought back into this. It's just updating some references right now, but un momento por favor. Doing doors or leaving it open? Leaving it open, no doors. Okay, so you can see here, you can see that the front of the chassis will get cut significantly further back. And then there'll be a bumper there that will be just to the front of the tires. And, well, I don't have the cowl in on this one or anything like that. That all has to get brought in. This has got the old structure style. And those need to get, those all need to get removed because that's all old stuff now. That's some old stuff. Are you designing an interior? Oh yeah, never mind. Yes, the interior, that was what this panel was. That was the mold for it. Are you running portals? Yeah, I'm running the Vanquish F10 portals on this truck. So it was designed at full bump, meaning the suspension all the way up and the tires turned, so I can see what my clearances were going to be. And the battery goes where? So for this, I'm going to have two different situations. The battery for this will likely be housed in an area here in the front with a cover, so you won't see it, but I'm going to be running a very tiny battery. So it's not ideal, but for competition, I want it as low as possible. So there's an area up here, and I'll get into that and how that's going to be done later. But it is what it is, just for competition. But if I ever want to run it normally, which would be a reasonable situation, underneath of the hood on top of that plate, and you can see there'll be a cutout where it'll be able to drop down in here where I'll be able to run a 1300 milliamp 3S pretty comfortably. 3D printed firewood. Yes, absolutely. But yeah, this plate will have a knockout in it so that a 1300 milliamp 3S pack can fit under the hood, on top of the trans, and up front. So, but that's higher than I want for competition. So, the difference between a battery sitting up here versus down here is pretty significant. Are there any small hard case batteries under? Ooh, I don't think so. I mean, you could print your own hard case if you wanted, but hard cases usually just take up more room, so I'm not usually that concerned with those. And I don't have the let's see which one. I think I've got the let's save it and move on. I'll go to the let's see. I can't remember the most up-to-date cage that I have, but I'm looking forward to. I actually have not done any cage templates from Fusion 360. Though all my old like design templates for how-to cages and things like that is from old programs that I used to use when I was in civil engineering. So, but oh, this is the correct one. So this is about the style of the cage that will go in here. And I've got some lofty goals for not just titanium welding, but how I plan to fixture this for construction. Because I want to actually do some fixtures, which we'll see. We'll see. And I need to design some plates that will go down to the chassis, come up. I'm going to have them capture the shock mount and get into, bolting to the cage. But that's all got to be out of titanium as well so that I can get it welded to the chassis. But we'll do some style back there. I also think I want to 3D print a rear seat so that it's for the scale points. It'll be a drop in and remove situation though, because this is not the style of cage that I would want to run if I actually had passengers in the back of a Jeep. So, but you can see my windshield it's tilted in. So it's got a decent amount of tilt in. Now the actual windshield, the widest part will be down here at the base. Now on a old Jeep, this is a modern recreation of it. On an old Jeep, this windshield frame would have been basically at this surface, which would have come, straight up. But I have been able to bring it in a little bit, which will also help me with my bumper width, because now my bumpers will only have to come to about this corner of the front fender, because that's how wide the windshield is. What? Scale rules. I mean, I could make this windshield ridiculously narrow, but I think this still looks... It's not a narrowed windshield, it's a wide-bodied Jeep. Right? Pay no attention to the file name. So, Fusion 360 or SolidWorks. This is Fusion 360. So this is the paid version, which doesn't really change anything. I just do it because I have to, like when I make things or manufacture for CNC, if you don't have the paid version, you don't get rapids. So everything your machine moves at the speed of the normal cutting, which is painfully slow. So I think it's like $400 a year that I pay for this. But it wouldn't really change anything versus your free hobbyist license. And you can renew that for free continuously. They don't make it easy, but if you go on the Fusion 360 groups on Facebook, you can find like pinned posts. Don't go on there and ask, because that happens 10 times a day. It's like the most hated question. So little things. This is the old grill because, well, I had cut it so that I could fit it over the chassis without cutting the braces yet. Just an old version. Little things that need to be updated. But yeah, that's little bits of everything. I'm looking forward to getting some of the carbon fiber done. This is the old body mold where, do you use Fusion 360 at work as well? No, I don't use Fusion 360 at work at all. We use SolidWorks and Mastercam at work. So this is just, 3D. Once you can design in one 3D software, you can usually design in most of them. So it just takes a little while to get used to the buttons and things like that. But once you can do one, you can do any of them. And $400 for a seat of Fusion 360 is way cheaper than me having to get a version of SolidWorks like through some group, like trying to get a discount through AMA or something like that, and then getting a CAM program to actually write tool paths. This is just all integrated for home. Super simple for me. I'm more than happy to pay $400 a year for the functionality it gives me. So empty seats are planted on a figure. I guess I'll put a figure in it for Scale Nats. Oh, only on course. It's coming out immediately afterwards. I'll put it. I'm gonna mold my own figure out of the out of that silicone. Yeah. So we'll see. This thing should be fun in the end. I'm looking forward to it. Okay. Do you guys want to design a part for 3D printing, or you want me to just keep plugging away on useless stuff on this that doesn't, exactly apply to what you're actually care about? Flesh tone, yeah. I can only imagine the shape of it. It's going to be very rudimentary. Look like Slender Man. Scale porta potty with door and toilet seat. That's not a bad idea. Although, isn't there a bunch of those you can already 3D print, Ben? Do Matt do 3D printing? Wait, do Matt what? Oh, make Matt in a 3D print a part. Let's do it. I agree. I'm going to save this. I can only show you so much of my scatterbrained, back and forth, useless to you part knowledge of a project that's overcomplicated and rushed. I started on that Jeep body like 6 months ago, at least. So let's see. Not a coffee pot or a cup of noodles. Oh my God. Yeah, or a seat. Let's see. We need an idea. Let's figure out a stick man like the comp snake. Oh, that would be good. It says it has to be human-like in the rules, though. That's the thing. So we're gonna just main camera for a second. I am dropping frames. Coming back. Come on. Already have incision light mount. Let's see. I'm just opening Instagram, seeing if anything just pops up and seems like a good idea. I highly doubt that will be the case. There was some sort of car accident that just popped up on my... I'm sending that to my mods real quick. I'd like to see a dash design. A dash design. Just like a super generic dash. That would be kind of a fun project. I wonder if we could make that... I like that idea, kind of. Let's do some sort of simple dash. Like what would it apply to best? If we did a dash for a cliffhanger. About that. Seem like something? Porta potty, because that's all we have at Scale Nats. Ben, I will not do it just because I hate them. I hate them. Ugh. And, upload the chassis brace for the Wraith 1.9 you designed. Possibly, but I honestly, I've thought about that, and I honestly don't know where it is. I designed it before I was designing Infusion, so it's in SolidWorks somewhere, somewhere at work, I guess. But I did a dash. Oh, I didn't remember that. I need ideas for my Ecto Power Wagon body. Let's see. I did not remember doing a dash. I don't doubt you at all. Oh, I do actually remember doing a dash. Now I remember because we did it when for the. Let's see. Like you hate flat rail chassis yet? I know. It's exactly. I'm going to use them, but. Brr. Okay. We need another idea. Let's do a Lloyd dash boom. False. See, this is why STL Sundays normally I had some sort of plan ahead of time. Make a silhouette figure. Maybe it's cool. That would be. Oh, I see why I'm selecting so many things. My mouse is slightly freaking out. It's probably because I need a mouse pad. The things I see in my mod chat. Wow. Yes, you're welcome. Okay. How about, so the third day the Poor Johns are very special. Exact. That's my least favorite thing. Make a figure. That is a front bumper. We could just do, let's just do a little bit of tube design in general. Just because it's not just for the sake of doing it. I'll show you what I mean. So, like, I'll just kind of walk you through the process I take for a tube design. This isn't going to be for anything specific or a proper dimension, but it'll give you an idea of how I go about it. So it doesn't really matter what type of line type at this point, but we're just going to draw a general profile of a tube, like a roll cage, a full roll cage in a car, Jeep, something like that. Maybe we know some dimensions, so we throw those on there. 80 millimeters seems about right. This maybe we'll go to 40. This one looks a little long, so we'll go 75. This one may be a little short. 75 as well. Just trying to define the numbers that you'll have to come up with a way to determine where these things need to be in your chassis or whatever you're designing around. But this would be the process that I would go through. I would determine my points. I would get them dimensioned. Let's see, what is still not happy here? Ah, that one. So we would likely know most all of these dimensions in some form or another. We would be able to measure them in the car. So this is just a side profile, which obviously does not do you a ton of good. So I would take this, and this would be, oh my God, I'm not showing the screen. Thank you. I'll let you guys catch up and say whatever you want to. So, tube design. I did a simple 2D sketch on the right plane. Just letting everybody catch up, say mean things to me for continuing to not share. I need to turn the super low latency on, but that's the only problem. So this is what we defined. A very simple 2D drawing on the right side. I'm going to finish this sketch because this is one that we likely wouldn't modify, and it would just be the start. From there, we're going to do another sketch. We're going to have to pick a plane. So we're going to select the right. But over here on this menu, there's this bottom one that says 3D sketch, and we're going to turn that on. This is where it gets a little bit tricky. So we're going to come up and we're going to select that start point there, which is the top of the A pillar. Yes, top of the A pillar. Now, we're still on the side because that's where our grid is. You can see if I was drawing a line, it would just be drawing in this plane. So as you rotate a little bit, you can see these 3 dots on these arcs. If we grab this one, which is the one that you can see is in that side plane, or kind of the front to back, I guess. You're going to grab that and rotate it 90. Ooh. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees. It doesn't matter if you go left or right, but you're going to go to negative 90 or positive 90. And then we're just going to draw a line. So now I'm going to assume that I drew that 2D profile, that I drew that at the center line. So, because I only want to do the work that I have to one time. I don't want to have to do it twice. And cages, in most cases, not always, are symmetrical. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to define the width, which may be, say, 60 millimeters. That's fine there. And we're going to draw another line, and I'm going to select that point, and we're going to do that same thing. Go to 90 degrees. We're going to go out. This one's likely going to be a little bit wider than the top, so we'll go 70. And I'm going to kind of just do this at every point. A little bit of a pain. And this one is likely same as the top. So we're going to go through and I'm going to finish this out. 90. This one probably the same as the top of the A pillar or the windshield bar. As we get towards the back, maybe it tapers in a little bit. Now, as I kind of go this way, I could just key in, and I was at 60, we'll go 55. I have 2 more points left. So I can key in 90. Oh, no, I can. 90, 55, and last one down here. Rotate this. Well, it may be, honestly, we probably should have had some sort of hip bar where maybe it wasn't. Let's go 70. Actually, we could do that still. I'm gonna define a point along just that solid line that we had. Let's say the halfway point. And we didn't have a node there, but we can kind of define one. And this one we're also going to bring out to 70. So now you can see that we have all of those points. Does mirror not apply on this case? Mirror wouldn't apply. Like, I'm going to mirror the tubes, but the sketches, not so much. So I'm going to finish that sketch and make another one. Again, I'm just going to select a point. 3D sketch is still on though, so we're going to click from there, and then I'm going to start connecting all of those points. And since we're in a 3D sketch, it's going to allow me to do this. Now, in this case, I just did what could be done as one chord or one, unit throughout that whole tube chassis. And at that case, actually, I should just go back and edit that sketch because I'll want a radius on these. So select that. My bender has got around a 1/2 inch radius. Then you got to deduct half of the width of the tube. So you can do 10 millimeter. I mean, if you want to get super precise, you can do that as well. But for the sake of this, Now I'm doing this now on this one for a reason. I'll show you. So we have defined how that could be bent as one piece. From there, we can go up to create and we can do pipe. We're going to select the path. It's got chain selection on, which is what you want in this case. We're going to select it and we're going to make our section size 3/16 of an inch. What is 3? I don't know why it won't do the conversion for me right now, but 3/16 is 0.1875 times 25.4 is 4.7625 millimeters. Design the inner cage for a cliffhanger for your class 2. Yeah, but I don't have. I think I have a lot of things left before to figure out before I can do that. You can see this tube looks a little large because this cage is a little bit small. But, you know, what type of computer are you using to that? This runs so smooth. I built this a while ago, but I think this is only a Ryzen 5. It's got a EVGA 2060 KO graphics card, and I think I'm only running 16 gig of RAM. My design computer is in the other room. It has a lot more horsepower, but this computer is still plenty capable. But so in here, you can see that. Now, the reason that I did this cord is because while, yes, we designed all of these nodes and all of that, now where that node is no longer in the center of that tube. So I'm actually going to turn off that second one. I can even turn off that first one, but we're going to turn that second sketch back on because now that has all of those points. While this is not, doesn't make things super simple, it's a kind of a pain. So normally what I would do now is at this point, rather than trying to land that tube at the midpoint of that radius, I might go to the, we're going to try and wake up that center point like that. And then again, so I clicked on that center point and now what is my, oh, it defaulted my, which is good. So we're just going to pull to that and will allow me the center point. My origin still shows way down there. So technically I would actually, I can I can get away without it. As long as it goes past the midpoint, we're kind of fine. So let's just go way past the midpoint. And let's just do like 2 of these. $65 is fine. Let's one more. Why not? So hover over that arc there. It'll wake up the midpoint. It's being a pain, so let's hide the body. I'm just doing this because you want to go off of the actual tube design. Finish sketch. Turn the bodies back on. And now you could do pipe again, and you could select, I guess it's only going to let you do one, but don't do cut, do new body, and we're just going to rinse and repeat that whole, oh, I got to turn that, it'll hide that sketch if you don't. New body, okay. Now, I was talking about going past that midpoint. We can do a simple thing. We can come in here and we can do split body. We can do body to split. I think we're going to be able to select all of these. And then splitting tool is just going to be our right plane, and it's going to cut all of those. Or, so then I could delete them and I'd have half the tube. Or the other thing I could do is just do a mirror. Mirror, select the bodies, and select the mirror plane. And now those are mirrored to the width. I could have at the same time. Let's just go back and modify that same. Well, that joined them. So actually, I'm okay with doing this separately. Mirror that, and then mirror. So that gives me the cage, and all of these pieces are still individual mirrors, or individual bodies. So I could turn off any specific tube, but that will also give me the ability to like make templates of each individual one. I can also do my proper coping of my tubes by doing a cut. So we go up here, there's this combine function at the top. If we hit combine and we do a cut, so our target body is this tube and the operation is a cut. The tool body is the main tube. So you can see it's going to fish mouth that tube, as you would call it, or cope the tube, however you want to refer to it. But you want to make sure that you hit keep tools so that it does not delete that tube that you made, and then hit OK. I would probably want to do that before I did all of that mirroring. That way it carried everything over to both sides. Oops. So do that. But now I could actually take, if I hide that main tube, you can see that you've got an actual tube there. So like if you wanted to create a drawing from that thing to make a proper template, you've got all of just the right information available to you. From there, you can do your cross bracing. Also, if you weren't doing this for metal fabrication and you wanted to do this to actually like 3D print a cage design, you would just not do everything as separate bodies. You would just combine all the bodies as you went. So rather than cut, you do join, and you just make all of this one big piece and go from there. Oh, that one I got a little bit off kilter, didn't I? I didn't have that one along the axis properly. So that was my mistake. I wouldn't want to continue with that. So this is along the same lines of how I created the cage in the in that commando. So if I was going to do, say, just a simple roll bar for whatever project you had, front, I turned off 3D Sketch at this time. What would the roll bar width of a typical... I've got my Power Wagon here next to me. Back of a Power Wagon body, you know, call it 120 millimeters. So I'd go somewhere around the 60 mark, come up and over. What if you want a bend in at the upper windshield bar? You would basically, you would just do the same thing. Like I think mine had it there. It went up and then it kicked in and it went across. So it's some of that is fairly simple. So 60, that's half of the width. Height, let's say we just do generic height for a Power Wagon at, say, 100 millimeters. That's handy. I like how it did that. It's exactly what I wanted. What is it not wanting to define? Oh, I think probably that lower part. Yeah. So this, like if this is, I'm going to design this as if I was going to do an actual 3D printed part. So we're just going to kind of roll through this thing. Let's even just do it wild simple. Let's do that. Let's do this thing as 5mm. Then let's do something like, let's do a double roll bar. Or double B hoop, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to do, oops. We're going to do that move command. We're going to select it. First, I need to get the rotation point correct. Do that. We're going to hit create a copy, and we're just going to do like, there you go, 8mm separation. Let's do that. I'm going to turn 3D sketch back on. We're going to do from center to center there. I'm going to do, give me that point. Doesn't want to do it. I'm going to turn on my first sketch again. There. And I'm going to, let's see, we're going to go 8mm at, what is that degree? Would be 180 degrees. A couple of pieces like that. We could even probably grab one down here just for, and I just know that that is 8mm at 180. So let's do finish. I'm just doing these as like some little connectors between. It's only going to let me do one at a time. So we're going to do a join. Fine with that. Same. We're going to, I got to turn that sketch back. Just going to repeat that a few times. That. So some little connectors, and we'll of course mirror this at the end. Is PLA strong enough for a cage, or should it be done in PETG? I mean, it all depends on how you drive, honestly, or how beefy you want to make a cage. Like, that's the other thing, right? So I'm going to do a sketch here at the bottom, and I'm just going to carry something back, say 70. Whoa, what did I type? 754, 75mm. Let's go back over like, yeah, 40. And then we're going to connect from that point up to that little funky tie-in point. But before I finish this sketch, I'm going to make these two lines construction lines. And what does it not? I just want to check why that line is blue. Ah, okay. So we're just going to do, there we go. Those two lines weren't done in full constraint. So pipe, join, or let's actually do, since we're just making things, new body. And then I'm going to take and I'm just changing the create a copy. We're just doing things silly for being silly. And then after, now that we've got these things as separate, we can do a join. I'm just going to join everything together. It's fine. Now, let's, we're not going to mirror it yet. Say we were going to do this as something that we actually wanted to 3D print. I'm going to do now these, you would have to kind of use these similar steps. I'm going to turn 3D Sketch off so that it doesn't try and grab any funky points. But we're going to do something like this. Let's say that this is going to be 10 millimeters wide and something like 16 high. And we'll just throw like a couple of 3.1 millimeter holes in it to give us some mounting locations. We'll do a construction line between them. And oops, just throw, yeah, let's see. 4 millimeters is fine there. We're just defining some locations for this to be mounted through. Made a little block. We're gonna go, rather than one side, we're gonna go symmetric, and we're gonna go 2.5 because I did 5 millimeter wide material. Say new body. You see how that kind of just blended into the tube then? Gave us an area for mounting. Now, these two tubes are floating here. We would want to get these connected to each other at the bottom. They're connected up here, all well enough. These are not connected yet, but so let's do. You have one option, which is to hit construction up at the top, select your plane, and then move a plane out. And since we did that at 60, well, it should be negative 60 in this case. That'll get us a plane at the center of that tube. So we hit OK, then we can do another sketch at that plane. And we're just gonna kind of connect the dots. If I want to, I can hit P for project and grab the bottom of these two, just to give me a couple of lines. We'll do a rectangular block from a midpoint. And midpoint there, we'll define a height. 12, do an extrusion. And we could just go to the inside 2.5 and do a join. That would kind of give you a little bit of tube detail still here at the outside. Tie it in there, which would be fine. So now that bottom would be tied in. From here, I'd want to do some like filleting just to get it a little bit cleaned up. What happens if I put 3 millimeter fillet? Looks pretty good there. Let's do some around the top here. What happens if I do 3 again? Nope, doesn't like it. 2.5 is, we'll do 2. It doesn't want to fillet that at all, which sometimes it's just going to do that. There's a lot going on with these two blocks. So what happens if I do one there for a little bit of strength, clean up these. Something like that. Gives you a mount at the bottom of the roll bar, help clean it up. If I was going to do this at top of that roll bar, especially if I was going to try and do this in 3D printing, I'd be like, I'd want a little bit of support. So I'd select that surface just to get it at the same. Then I'd throw a 3.1. Let's offset that by 3. Now from here, we could just kind of fiddle. If I was going to try and be a little bit more exact, I'd do a circle and I'd do 6.5 millimeters. Turn that to a construction line. That's like a 6.5 millimeters is a good size to think about for the head of a screw. So you want to make sure that it doesn't interfere with anything. You can see I got that like super close. So let's just call that done. That way we know a screw could go in there without rubbing the tube work. That's not defined, so it's not the way I would normally do things, but so we're going to go -5 to take it the other way. Actually, let's go -4 just to get it a little bit shy and keep some of that tube detail. And we'll go join. So that would give you this little mounting point here at the top. It's a little bit ugly, but again, if you were if you were doing this for 3D printing, especially like take the hit, add some strength. I'm adding a fillet. 1 millimeter is about all it's going to let me do. So that would do that. Let's see if we can throw a 1 millimeter chamfer on. Nope. It won't let us chamfer. Just how with how that fillet flows and everything. I was trying to chamfer just to get it cleaned up a little bit. I might be able to chamfer if I don't chain. No. Nope, I'm wrong. Okay. No luck there. But it's still probably worth it. It's hidden enough up there in the corner. So you have an attachment there, an attachment down there. Only thing we would want to do is, depending on how this was mounting, again, this isn't proper because I didn't have any dimensions that I was actually taking this off of. So I do need to attach something here still. If we do a construction offset, I could probably pull this out, and I likely did 40 millimeters, so we'll do that. Do it on that plane. And we'll just pull something out like this. Say 12. Let's do 6 millimeters. Oops. 6 millimeters tall. I'm going to do a project to grab that surface, and then I can hopefully... it's not going to be a good one. Can I do a tangent? That to that? I could, but it wants to pull it to the wrong place. Let's see if I just force it once more. Aha! Success! And we'll just throw a 3 there. So let's do symmetric 5 millimeter. Symmetric 5. Ooh. Not each way. I want to go total. Actually, let's go to 4 again. Leave us some of that detail. I'm going to leave this as a new body for right now, because I want to do some like cleanup and trimming on it before we merge it in. I'm just going to grab these, throw a 2 millimeter. Why does it not like to do a 2 millimeter? Ah, when I extruded, I missed a profile. There it is. Now we got it. So now I can come in and select these. We'll throw 2 millimeter fillet. I should have thrown the holes in there to start with, but again, these aren't real attachment points because I don't have something that I'm drawing this off of. You know, body placement where the actual holes would attach. I understand that none of this is actually useful parts to you guys, but it's early on a Sunday. What do you expect from me? And that 6. And we'll do a cut through everything. We're going to go 2 sides. Cut through both like that. It cut through the tube as well, as you can see. I would probably want to clean up the back side of that, so I'd do a sketch, hit project, grab that entire surface, and just cut that so it would... See how it cuts that tube so that it notches? Up front as well, similar thing, like I was saying, 6.5 is a good distance for the head of a screw. So I'd select that and pull that out, kind of notch that tube appropriately. Make any sense to you guys? And then from there, let's, so say this was like going to attach to the side of a frame rail. So I'd want to do like a sketch here. Let's find the midpoint of that. We could come back. Now I wouldn't have to fully define that because I could just select it and then cut down. Kind of clean that up a little bit. We could do another sketch on top of it. Hit P for project to grab that. And then we could get kind of fancy and just connect some of these pieces of tubing. Let's do something like that. Add some like tangent constraints. And just for no reason. No reason. Like the movie Rubber. So this isn't going to be, I kind of hate what I just did there, but that sucks. I'm going to leave it, but I hate it. Just so you know, I think I did a bad job there. Like, I'm not saying that that's good work. That is ugly, ugly work. Ugly and too thin, not strong enough. Like, there's lots and lots of problems with what I just did, but just kind of tying it in so that it would be able to bolt somewhere. That should have been further down, given that more room. That whole deal. But I would go through, I would do all of that. We would come in, we'd hit mirror, select the body, select the mirror plane, and you'd end up with a kind of simple, fairly ugly, nothing special roll cage. You know, that's what we did. So you would want to have an actual design in mind. You'd want to have your truck next to you, a set of calipers, or even just a ruler. And you'd want to start measuring where your attachment points are going to be on the body, with the chassis, whatever it happens to be. I flew through that stuff. That wasn't, I'm sure, very helpful, but maybe you can at least see the thought process I went through. Like, and this would have been for 3D printing. That's why like I joined all of these parts together. I put big fillets in areas and attachment points. Like, this would not be a functional design to fabricate by metal, but at least you can kind of see what we were thinking if you went with 3D printed. It's something to think about. You could do this type of stuff, especially if you're looking for more just detail, not function. 3D printers are fairly decent, but like if you want something that is gonna hold up or have any sort of benefit to it, 3D printing is not it. But that's not always what people are after. I get that. So, maybe, just maybe, something in all of my babble today was helpful. It's, yeah. I enjoy 3D design a lot. I know that these streams are not the most popular. They are still a lot of work. They can still be a little bit frustrating for me and for you, I'm sure. you know, when I forget to change the camera to see what I'm actually talking about, and I can't pay attention to the chat very much. So I just sit in here and I'm talking to myself while being less than helpful at times. Maybe a tip shows up here or there for you guys. You know, but that's STL. That was kind of what STL Sunday was like in a way. I miss the show. I do. We had a decent turnout today. It was, you know, this show was never all that popular. And it was, you know, another commitment. Maybe with this year being something new, like this year I'm focusing less on being a regular YouTube stuff, reviews and this and that. And I'm just kind of going back to what I like. For a lot of reasons, because getting back to what I enjoy the most, and you know, just I think it's more fun. So mental health, a number one. That go Steelers. Someone block Andrews right now. Tom Andrews, you're out of here. Banned forever. I'm kidding. It's playoff day. Nicole is very excited. How about a monthly STL Sunday? I know what you mean. It's something like that. Could definitely, I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to not worry about STL Sundays being regular, and I'll just do them when I want, because that could make it super fun for me. Like when I don't have to worry about like, it's every Sunday. I got to do it. I'm not going to like that was the one thing is like, I made a big commitment to being just having a set, steady schedule. Like every Tuesday is the news. I'm not missing it. Matt and I have not missed a Wednesday, which those are no prep and they're the most fun because we just sit there and BS for a couple hours. So maybe if I don't put that same pressure on myself for these, it'd be worth it. So yeah, we'll think about it. I enjoyed it today. I made the mistakes again. Phoenix actually gave Tom Andrews a 302nd timeout. I hope he understands it's all in good fun. You know better, Tom. So you guys are awesome. I appreciate it. Some people donated, which is not normal for STL Sunday. Thank you to user 1. He donated CHFs, which I do not know what those are, but thank you. Brian Sherwood, thank you very much, sir. And Aardvark Spleen. Again, much appreciated. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. Watch football if you want to. I will be working in CAD while Nicole yells at the TV. You guys are great. Much appreciated. We will see you in a couple of days for the new Scale News Update. Anyway. Later, everybody. We will see you later.